If you thought yesterday's news was bad, I need you to sit down for this one. Because what I'm about to share with you today is not just one piece of bad news, it is a storm. A perfect storm hitting American seniors from every single direction at the same time. Your Social Security trust fund is racing toward depletion. The government's own numbers say your benefits could be slashed by 24%. That is $500 a month gone from your check. Just gone. 3.5 million Americans have already lost their food stamp benefits because of the so-called One Big Beautiful Bill. Seniors as old as 64 are now being told they have to prove they are working 20 hours a week just to get help buying groceries. Medicaid is being gutted, with new work requirements that could strip health insurance from millions of older adults between 50 and 64. And grocery prices? They are up 3.2% from last year, with tariffs expected to push them even higher. This is not coming. This is happening right now, today, in June of 2026. This is Senior Alert USA, and I promise you, by the end of this video, you will know exactly what is happening, who is affected, and what you can do to protect yourself. If you have not subscribed yet, do it right now. Hit that bell, because the information in this video is something every senior in America needs to hear. Let us get into it. Let us start with the biggest financial threat hanging over every single retiree in this country. On June 3rd of this year, just 2 days ago, CNBC published a report based on new analysis from the Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget, and the headline was terrifying. It said that Social Security's retirement trust fund is projected to run out of money by 2032. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. 2032. That is 6 years from now. 6 years. And when that trust fund runs dry, and I am quoting directly from the analysis, benefits would need to be reduced by 24% across the board. For the average retiree, that translates to a cut of approximately $500 per month. $500 a month. That is not a small adjustment. For millions of seniors, that is rent. That is groceries for an entire month. That is the difference between keeping the lights on and sitting in the dark. And it gets worse, depending on where you live. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget broke it down state by state. If you live in Connecticut, your average monthly cut would be $556. New Jersey, $554. New Hampshire, $553. Delaware, $549, Maryland, $541, Washington State, $531, Minnesota, $530, Massachusetts, $527. No state would be spared. Every single state in this country would see benefit reductions. 63 million current beneficiaries, 54 million retired workers, and 9 million receiving survivor or dependent benefits, all of them would be affected. Now, some people will tell you this is not going to happen. They will say Congress will step in and fix it. And maybe they will. But let me ask you something. When was the last time Congress stepped in and fixed anything before it became a full-blown crisis? The Social Security trustees have been warning about this for years. The Penn-Wharton budget model, one of the most respected economic research groups in the country, confirmed the 2032 depletion date in their March 2026 analysis. And here's what makes this even more urgent. The One Big Beautiful Bill that was signed into law last July includes a new $6,000 tax deduction for seniors. Now, that sounds wonderful on the surface, and I will talk about some positives later. But Social Security's own chief actuary found that this deduction will cost the program $168.6 billion in lost tax revenue over the next decade, and it will accelerate the depletion of the trust fund by up to 6 months. So, on one hand, they are giving you a tax break. On the other hand, that tax break is speeding up the date when your benefits get cut by 24%. That is the reality nobody wants to talk about. The trust fund depletion is not a distant problem anymore. It is not something for the next generation to worry about. If you are 60 years old today, you will be 66 when this hits. If you are 70 today, you will be 76. This affects you. This affects everyone watching this video. Now let me tell you about something that is already causing real suffering across this country right now. Not in 6 years, right now. CNBC reported on May 30th that at least 3.5 million Americans have lost their SNAP food benefits, what most people call food stamps, since the One Big Beautiful Bill became law last July. 3.5 million people who were getting help buying food are no longer getting that help. And here is what changed. The new law made massive cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. The Congressional Budget Office calculated that the bill cut $187 billion from SNAP. The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities called it the biggest cut in the program's history. Let me explain what the law did. Previously, there were work requirements for younger adults to receive SNAP benefits for more than 3 months, but those requirements stopped at age 54. Now, the One Big Beautiful Bill raised that age all the way to 64. So if you are 55, 58, 60, 62, 64 years old, you now have to prove that you are working at least 20 hours per week to keep your food benefits beyond 3 months. Think about that. You are 62 years old. Maybe you have arthritis. Maybe you have a bad back. Maybe you had a stroke last year. You cannot find a job that will hire someone your age for 20 hours a week. And now the government is telling you, no work, no food assistance. The law also shifted costs to the states. Previously, the federal government paid the full cost of SNAP benefits. Now states have to pay between 5 and 15%. And to limit their costs, states are tightening eligibility rules, creating mountains of paperwork and making it harder for people to qualify. Let me give you the numbers from specific states. Arizona has lost 51% of its SNAP beneficiaries, more than 400,000 people in Arizona alone. Louisiana has lost 20%, Tennessee 16%, Virginia nearly 15%. CNBC interviewed a 60-year-old woman named Rhonda Keene from Arizona. She applied for SNAP benefits in February because her health is declining and she can no longer work full-time. She submitted her paperwork, she responded to multiple requests for additional documentation, and as of the report date, she still has not received a single dollar of food assistance. She told CNBC, and I quote, "I have never been in this situation. It is pretty humiliating." She is relying on family support and odd jobs. Her retirement savings are almost gone. She is afraid she could lose her home. And she is not alone. Food banks across America are seeing demand they have never seen before. The California Food Banks Network is now serving 6 million people per month. That is more than at the height of the COVID pandemic when they served 4.5 million. They never recovered from the pandemic surge, and now it is getting worse. The Community Food Bank of Southern Arizona said their donations went up 17% in their recent food drive, which tells you something beautiful about American generosity. But it also tells you something deeply troubling about how many people are going hungry. And here is the part that should make every American angry. SNAP provides 9 meals for every 1 meal a food bank provides. Food banks cannot replace what the federal government has taken away. It is mathematically impossible. Meanwhile, grocery prices are up 3.2% from last year, according to the USDA. The tariffs that have been imposed are expected to push food costs even higher in the second half of 2026. Some estimates project grocery prices will rise between 4 to 6% this year, making prices 27% higher than they were just 5 years ago. So food is getting more expensive, and the help people need to afford it is being taken away. For seniors on a fixed income, this is a nightmare. And as if losing food benefits was not enough, now let us talk about health insurance. Because millions of older Americans are about to lose that too. The One Big Beautiful Bill introduced new work requirements for Medicaid. If you are between the ages of 19 and 64 and you receive Medicaid coverage, you are now required to work at least 80 hours per month or participate in job training, community service, or another qualifying activity to keep your health insurance. Now, let me put a number on this. An AARP Public Policy Institute analysis found that 9 million Medicaid recipients between the ages of 50 and 64 would face these new requirements. 9 million people. And researchers at UC Berkeley's Labor Center estimate that these work documentation requirements alone could cause 5.2 million adults to lose their Medicaid coverage nationwide. Think about who these people are. They are in their 50s and early 60s. They might be caring for aging parents. They might have chronic health conditions. They might be working part-time. They might be in that gap between losing employer coverage and qualifying for Medicare at 65. AARP's Chief Advocacy and Engagement Officer, Nancy Lamond, wrote in a letter to Senate leaders that this creates, and I am quoting, a steep coverage cliff for those in their 50s and early 60s, particularly for those nearing retirement or working part-time, who may be left with no affordable coverage option at all. No affordable coverage option at all. Let that sink in. And it is not just Medicaid. The Affordable Care Act marketplace plans are also being hit. Enhanced tax credits for ACA coverage are being allowed to expire, which the health policy organization KFF estimates will increase out-of-pocket premiums for those plans by 75% on average. And they say older adults will be hit the hardest. So picture this. You are 58 years old. You lose your Medicaid because you cannot document 80 hours of work per month. You try to get an ACA plan, but the premiums just went up 75%, and you cannot afford it. You are not 65 yet, so you cannot get Medicare. What do? You go without health insurance. That is what happens. You skip your medications. You do not go to the doctor. You pray that nothing goes wrong until you turn 65. And for too many people, something does go wrong. And by then, it is too late. The University of Pennsylvania's Leonard Davis Institute actually studied the impact of the SNAP cuts alone and estimated they could lead to 93,000 premature deaths between now and 2039. 93,000. Now add in the loss of Medicaid coverage and the ACA premium increases, and the human cost becomes almost unimaginable. Now, I know I have given you a lot of terrible news today, and I want to be fair and balanced, so let me share the one bright spot in all of this. The same One Big Beautiful bill that cuts SNAP and Medicaid also created a new tax deduction specifically for seniors. If you are 65 or older, you can now claim an additional $6,000 deduction on your federal taxes. If you are married and both spouses are 65 or older, that is $12,000. This is on top of the existing standard deduction and the additional standard deduction for seniors that was already in the tax code. To get the full $6,000, your modified adjusted gross income needs to be $75,000 or less if you are a single filer, or $150,000 or less if you are married filing jointly. Higher income earners can claim a reduced amount, up to $175,000 for singles or $250,000 for couples. The IRS has confirmed this deduction is available for both itemizing and non-itemizing taxpayers. It is effective from 2025 through 2028. For many seniors, this could significantly reduce or even eliminate the federal taxes you pay on your Social Security income. And that is genuinely good news. But I want to be honest with you. This deduction is temporary. It expires after 2028. And as I mentioned earlier, it is costing the Social Security Trust Fund $168.6 billion over the next decade, which is speeding up the very insolvency that threatens your benefits. So it is a trade-off. A short-term benefit with a potentially devastating long-term cost. Alright, so what can you actually do about all of this? Here are the most important steps I want every senior watching this to take. First, check your Social Security statement. Log into your My Social Security account at SSA.gov/myaccount. Make sure your earnings record is correct. Make sure your payment information is up to date. If you cannot do this yourself, ask someone you trust to help you. Second, if you are receiving SNAP benefits, do not assume your benefits will continue automatically. Check with your local SNAP office or call 211 to find out if the new work requirements apply to you and what documentation you need to keep your benefits. Third, if you are on Medicaid and between the ages of 50 and 64, contact your state Medicaid office now. Find out when the work requirements take effect in your state and what steps you need to take to maintain your coverage. Do not wait until you get a termination notice. Fourth, talk to a tax professional or visit a free tax preparation site about the new $6,000 senior deduction. Make sure you are claiming every deduction you are entitled to. The IRS website has updated guidance specifically for seniors at IRS.gov. Fifth, contact your representatives in Congress. Call their offices, write letters. Tell them that the cuts to SNAP and Medicaid are hurting real people. Tell them that the Social Security Trust Fund needs to be addressed before 2032. Your voice matters, and elected officials pay attention when their phones ring off the hook. Sixth, connect with local resources. Call your local area agency on aging. Visit benefitscheckup.org to find benefits you might be eligible for that you do not know about. Many seniors leave money on the table simply because they do not know these programs exist. And seventh, keep watching Senior Alert USA. I am here for you. This channel exists for one reason: to make sure you are never caught off guard by changes to your benefits. We cover Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, tax changes, and everything that affects seniors in America. I want to end today with something personal. When I started this channel, I made a promise that I would always tell you the truth, even when the truth is hard to hear, even when it makes people uncomfortable, even when it would be easier to just focus on the positive and ignore the rest. Today was one of those hard days. The truth is, American seniors are under pressure from multiple directions at once. Your trust fund is shrinking, your food benefits are being cut, your healthcare coverage is being threatened, and the cost of simply living, buying groceries, paying your electric bill, putting gas in your car, keeps going up. But here is what I also know. Seniors in this country are the strongest, most resilient generation alive. You have survived recessions, you have survived wars, you have survived pandemics, and you will survive this too. But only if you stay informed, only if you speak up, and only if we look out for each other. So please, share this video, send it to your friends, post it on Facebook, text it to your family members. The more people who know what is happening, the harder it becomes for anyone to ignore us. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, leave a comment below and tell me, how are these changes affecting your life? What is your biggest concern right now? I read every single comment, and I want to hear from you. Thank you for watching Senior Alert USA. God bless you and your families. I will see you in the next video. Stay alert, stay informed, and take care of each other.